Okay. Good afternoon or good evening, Ms. Fresco. Thank you for joining in on this conference call. This is your post-conference for the observation I did in your classroom. Um, and just a review of the lesson that you provided was on the Princess and the Pea. We did have the observation. We had a full class. All of your students were there. Um, I'll go through and I'll just give you a couple of notes that I took as far as the flow of your classroom, everything that was that I saw, the positives, maybe some feedback that I can offer, and then I'll get into the domains and as far as what I saw and some of the evidence and then the ratings that I would give you on that. I was really impressed on how the skills uh, were or the lesson was broken down into smaller steps. I did hear you use a lot of the I do, you do, we do, or I do, we do, you do. Basically, providing the lesson or giving the students a task and then slowly pulling away so that they could exhibit some of the knowledge that they gained and they were able to continue on their own, by themselves. Um, the students' IEPs. I mean, obviously, I didn't see everyone's IEPs, but I did see the differentiation in the instruction. You did offer different activities with the same goal in mind, but keeping in mind the students' each individualized needs. Uh, Diego, obviously, he's in the wheelchair. I did see you use the augmentive assistive technology with him with the iPad, so he's able to communicate with some of the questions. Um, it was we had Valeria, who's a nonverbal student on the beanbag, and you did have an assistant with her one to one, I guess, prompting her, trying to keep her as engaged as she possibly could. There's a lot of movement in your classroom. Obviously, it's very lively. Um, I guess if I hadn't known that the behavior problems or any of those issues were at play, I'm glad you pointed it out in the pre-conference. I guess to the unknowing person walking in, they could see it as chaos, but it's very clear and evident that you're aware of your students and their communication styles and that how they communicate, whether it be through the PECs with Justin, uh, or sign language. I did see you use some of the sign language with Justin, um, and the way you incorporated that into the activity was very impressive as well. The data collection, I did notice that you did have some binders with IEPs, and when I walked around and noticed, I did see you were checking off as far as the IEPs were concerned to collect that data, which will be helpful later on whenever you do go to your annual meeting in order to address the strengths and weaknesses. Okay. Yeah, I did appreciate also how the students are involved. You did ask them questions. They did walk up to the smart board and they were able to make the choices on the screen themselves. It wasn't just you providing it. I mean, obviously you did model the activity first, and then you had the students like Heriberto or Nadine walk up to the board and participate by choosing the next activity based off their likes and interests. It was very cute, very fun. Um, the way you structured the activity was very evident that you did follow the lesson cycle. Um, Again, the whole I do, we do, you do is very evident in that you model the activity, you participated with the students to do it together, and then you had them perform the activity on their own. So that was very nice. It's a very positive and learning environment. Again, if it was just anybody else walking by, they would hear all the kids laughing and singing. So you could tell that it was a very fun and lively lesson. And obviously with that, it's a very positive working environment. The students are active, they're involved, and it's very evident from your proximity to the students that you're a very caring person and you do love your students. Um, let's see. You do have some of the students that are a little bit more active. Sammy, I think was his name. Um, Very colorful language, but you handle it very calm and patient. You can tell that you have a very good rapport with him. You redirected when you needed to. Now, whether or not he's taking that instruction and moving on from there is probably something that maybe we can get a behavior specialist to come in and maybe give us some more ideas. I know you've had him for how many years now?
Sammy's been my baby for 4. He just turned 17 in November.
And has he always been like this, or is it just a transition? Has he gotten better? Has he gotten worse since he first came in?
He's always been like that. He gets better time to time. It just depends. When we have new people in the room, he likes to put on a show.
Okay. But you can, it's clearly evident though that even though he exhibits those, he's easily redirected mainly by you. And you can tell that he takes direction from you very well. It did get a little bit difficult. I did notice that you have, I believe, the new student in your class, Elisa, that required you to step away from the lesson uh, and assist her in the bathroom, and then you brought her out. I did also notice though with the other students that once that happened, it's turned into a little bit of a waterfall. But again, you were able to redirect them and have them use. I think Justin likes to go in there, from what I could tell. But he did use his pecs, so that's good that you have that established. Is very impressive. You can tell he's nonverbal, so for him to use the pecs in order to request to go to the bathroom was very, very evident and very nice. Your communication with your staff is great. Your expectations are set. I know we in the previous brief conference you did talk about that you don't really have assistants, but you have permanent subs. So I understand that it's kind of difficult for you to address the behavioral concerns, restroom concerns, or anything like that because you're basically the point of contact in the classroom. Am I right in assuming that?
Yeah, permanent subs, although they're really good girls, they like to fold to student behaviors. They kind of have like a bleeding heart for the babies. And so they allow a lot more things or feel bad. Where after 22 years, I kind of don't fold. Whereas, like if Sammy says a bad word, to get him back on task, I don't offer him a snack to sit down. It's sit down, show me you can behave, and then earn it. Whereas they use the reward as an ABA exchange in an immediate type situation. And as low functioning academically as some of the students are, they are high enough to know how to manipulate the system to get what they want. So there's that. And then if there is a physical need to intervene in behaviors where, like my new student, a little boy, he's a freshman, they feel terrible that he gets so frustrated, but his throwing of desks and hitting things and hitting me should not be acceptable just because he has Down syndrome. And he feels not that it's a need, it's a want to eat all day. So, in that way, they do feel bad if there is a restraint or if he's removed from the group because of student safety. And then Elisa, hers is just having type 1 diabetes. She has to use the restroom every 40 minutes or so, and permanent subs are not permitted to assist in any sort of toileting or bathroom personal hygiene skills. So the behavior, the redirection, and the personal care, it all falls on me, with about 8 of them that either need the toileting or the behavioral intervention or the um, personal skills in a bathroom. So a good portion of my day, at least half of it, is in the bathroom.
I mean, but to your credit, I mean, it does seem like a very daunting task for you to handle on your own, but you seem to handle it very well. I do have some suggestions, and we'll go over at the end just to brush up as far as professional development or growth from there. Uh, but it is evident that even though you're faced with those challenges, that you're doing the best that you can with the tools provided to address the needs and even the functional skills of the students in your classroom, while still trying to maintain some of the academics that are required in your class as well. Okay. Technology, it's very evident in your classroom. I noticed that the lesson was primarily based off of the computer on the TeachTown curriculum, which is the alternative curriculum. I did see that the students were engaged by using their computers. Uh, again, Diego was a primary source as far as him using the iPad, the augmented communication device. Although he does try to communicate, but I did notice that he did try to use that one as well. Okay. Okay.
Is this more difficult, Diego, with the augmented device? I've talked to the speech therapist because of his physical limitations due to his cerebral palsy. When you do physically assist him to guide the arm, it appears to me that it is not a true academic response because we have to hold his arm up and steady to be able to pick exactly what he wants because he shakes so much. So it does feel as though we're answering for him. So we are going back to have a re-eval to possibly get him some other sort of device.
That was going to be my next question. If you had probably thought about uh, incorporating some different prompting strategies, is that something that would be discussed at the meeting? Maybe what are some communication devices that you might think would work in that situation?
For Diego, I think that if we could try and make it like where it is a full iPad and it's basically like text online, instead of giving him so many options, it could be programmed like if we know where, for instance, the Princess and the Pea, if we had to put a dog and a princess and then split the screen in half, he would be able to utilize it that way. Um, but I don't know if the program can be set up to eliminate that many choices because if you put in it's kind of like PECS. It's pre-programmed by the speech therapist. So if we have to do lunch, for example, it just puts up all the food.
Hmm.
So it's hamburger, hot dog, Frito pie, whatever, chips, everything, an array of food. And he's supposed to make a full sentence. I want a hamburger or I want burger. I can't take out everything but a burger and nuggets. So giving him no more than two, possibly three choices would be more beneficial. With Justin, he responds better to sign. And it's just a matter of a pre-teach. We've had him now for 7 years, and he's able to sign quite a bit. But then when he gets excited that you do understand what he's requesting, he gives you all the signs he knows at once and then blows you a kiss. So he's got it. With Ilissa, she's too oral fixated to utilize PECS as well as an augmentive device because of the excessive drool. To give her any sort of electronic would be difficult, and then because she's oral fixated like an infant, she eats her PECS. And then who was the other one? I'm trying to remember what other kiddo, but we do have verbal communication, sign, augmentive devices, PECs. Oh, but Elisa can sign, but she signs life skills. She signs if she wants a cookie. She signs if she has to go restroom. Yes, please, thank you. Um, but that's about it. Which is, unfortunately, I understand what you're saying about that. The academics is challenging in my room, but for the most part, I have a very good group of parents
Hmm.
that do understand that this is more making sure that these kids are able to function in life outside of school because they are aware that being able to go to any sort of secondary education would be challenging, but in hopes that maybe they might be able to go to an adult daycare is the main goal.
And it is evident. I mean, it did show that you're attempting, the students are exposed to the academic curriculum, which is the requirement, but at the same time, you're incorporating those functional skills. I guess in looking at the different domains that we look for as far as T-test is concerned, it's very evident you have a strong grasp of the knowledge of your students and how they respond and how they're able to communicate and apply the academics. Uh, but I understand what you're saying completely. The standards and alignment, as far as like the curriculum is concerned, in the dimension of standards alignments, the data assessments, I think the knowledge of your students, you're excels on that for sure by leaps and bounds. But you have the unique opportunity to be with your students for so long that you pretty much grow with them. So they become your kids. As far as the standards and alignment, the program I did do some research on the Teach Town curriculum. I do know that it is data based. It is aligned to the TEKS. The data and assessments. I would like to point out. I did see that there was folders in the classroom, but I believe that in my research and speaking with the special ed administrators, that there is a way to data collect using the Teach Town. So that might be a way that we could go ahead and streamline that in order to provide you that input and ease some of the stress of having to write it down on the paper format. The activities, they were differentiated. You were very proficient in that area as far as differentiating for the students and meeting their IEPs and individualized needs. Let me see. As far as the instructions, the achieving expectations, you're very proficient, content, knowledge, and expertise. And I think we spoke about this in our pre-conference as far as your want to have more in-depth training as far as how to incorporate the new curriculum into your classroom. The communication, you obviously have great communication with not only the students, but your permanent subs. I'm suggesting also that maybe we look into getting some additional training for the permanent subs as well, since they are in with you permanently, to get them more involved, at least through the academic side. That way, in the event that you do have to step away and handle the situations with the students, it would ease some of the pressure of the lesson off of you, and they could be more of help within the classroom. Monitoring adjustment, I mean, you're doing the best that you can with what you have in the classroom, so I would say you're proficient there as well. The classroom environment, routines and procedures, they're in place. You can tell that the students know a lot of times it's just a verbal directive from you. Even your nonverbals step up and go to the board or know the lesson cycle. It's evident that it's very much in place in your classroom. Um, Managing student behavior, I understand Sammy's 4 years, but I would also suggest that maybe we try to get a behavior specialist in to give us some more strategies. I don't know whether they work or not, but we'd still like to provide more help with that aspect. And the classroom culture, again, working around special ed for a while, it's very evident that the culture in your classroom is conducive to the students that you have in there. So I commend you on that. So all in all, I mean, I think it was a very successful lesson. The students were engaged. They benefited from your instruction. They benefited from the help around them. Very differentiated and and it met the requirements. So all in all, I would say it is a proficient um, as far as the scoring is concerned. But again, I'd like to look into maybe getting the professional development for you and the TAs or your assistant or your permanent subs to give you that help. Um, as far as the teach town getting you, see if I can either get with Region One or the company put in an instructional support form with special ed to see if we can get additional training for the curriculum as well. And then also reaching out to see if we could get the behavior specialists involved to see if we can address some of those behavioral concerns in the classroom. Did you have any questions or would you like to add anything?
No, I mean, I don't want it to seem as though that we're not, you know, doing the best that we can, but like you say, it's the best that we can do with what we have. The curriculum, I just wish that we could use all levels, because the levels that we are provided with are technically at a high school curriculum base, but my babies are still learning to write their names. So to get them to really comprehend the difference between a fictional story and a non-fictional story, it's tough. But I feel like if we were able to access the Teach Town curriculum at all levels, the scaffolding could be created, because again, we were just kind of thrown to the wolves and expected to take this on in September, October, um, so that even the babies have never seen it. Um, Granted, like you say, it'll work its way through. That Teach Town does the baseline and gives the date, the I guess the tracking for me, but it takes a few years to implement a new program for it to be effective.
Right.
Um, and in thinking about special ed, it's sometimes in certain situations double, triple that time for these kiddos. So the kiddos that are just starting in kinder, by the time they get to us in high school, then they might be able to fully comprehend this program. So there's a little bit of a challenge there. So if they could continue, I know when they first got the program, they came down from Austin. The company came down and gave us like 2 or 3 crash test trainings for half days. If they could come back and really go further in depth, or I guess make it to where the teacher can pick the level, would be better. And then, of course, I'm all for requesting further training in special ed in all aspects. I was a diag for a few years. So, you know, learning this new paperwork program that we have, the same goal, and how concise it is with other districts to what they use, or if other districts are going through the hardships that we're going through with I mean, you hear about it, but the shortages and all that, um, just ways to make not only things better for myself and the campus, but for my babies more than anything. I'd be willing to go to whether it's Region 1 or Region 20, um, and in all levels, because right now we're fortunate enough to where we're homogeneously grouped. So for my academic level and behavioral level, it doesn't um, make learning challenging for students that are in other unit teachers' classes where their children are able to write basic sentences, have conversations, and go out to gen ed classes. We're very fortunate at this time, but you never know the cases that we might get. So to be better versed in an array of behaviors and expectations and disabilities because of the change within the DSM-5, I think that that would benefit me greatly.
Okay. I agree. 100%. Very valid points. I'll make note of it. we'll put this plan into place. I'll speak with the necessary people to try and get us some of that training. I mean, like, after all, the district does want, better prepared teachers in order to better prepare our students and prepare them for life after high school, regardless of the functional level. So those are all good points. I'll make sure to make note of it. And then when we meet again at the end of the year, we'll revise, or if at any point you feel that situations come up or you come across any sort of professional development that you feel would be beneficial, feel free to let us know and we'll move on that. Okay. All right.
Okay, thank you.
And thank you very much, Ms. Fresco. We will see you soon.
Thank you. Bye.
Bye.